Hey guys, and welcome to my new movie review to the direct sequel to Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Once again, this movie is directed by the absolutely incredible George Lucas. It is rated PG and the duration is 2 hours and 22 minutes. It's also an action-adventure fantasy. It came out in 2002. The cast is reprising his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi is Ewan McGregor. Natalie Portman also reprising her role as Padme. This time as Anakin Skywalker, we actually have Hayden Christensen. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku, aka Dark Tyrannus. Samuel Jackson as Mace Windu. The incredibly brilliant Frank Oz reprising his role as Yoda, who does the voice of Yoda. Also reprising his role as Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, Ian McDiarmid. And a lot of people's favourite, just joking, Ahmed Best as also Jar Jar Binks. One of the things that I absolutely loved about Star Wars Attack of the Clones, guys, Episode 2, is the misdirection. Now, anyone who's been following me for any period of time, you know that I don't do spoilers, okay? I do not do spoilers, okay? But there's a really, really impressive misdirection that they use in this film, and it is so good with the villain. Technically, it turns out to be someone who is trying to be villainous, but the main key villain in the movie is completely... It's just incredible. I just loved the idea of what they did, especially of how they made him to be just so scary. Then obviously in the next movie, that's when the next movie is when it gets even darker. And if you're ready for that one, my review for the next movie actually drops tomorrow. Yeah, you're welcome. It's going to be amazing. But it blew me away, guys. Genuinely, it really, really blew me away. I really was just so impressed with who you thought was going to be the bad guy. And yes, he does. But it just sort of flips the script because it focuses on the other guy not as bad. I actually thought, guys, in this movie, in a really big way, and a lot of people might not agree with me, and I understand if you don't, but I genuinely thought that Jar Jar Binks in this movie was really, really cute. Seriously, I really did. I really valued just how they made him compared to the first movie. I just thought he just was so excited, and he was a lot more grounded in this movie than what he was in The Phantom Menace. And I really valued the direction that they took Jar Jar Binks in this movie in that element of who he was. Something that I really kind of not in a negative way. Don't get me wrong here, guys. Not in a negative way. I just was really surprised coming from Jake Lloyd being Anakin Skywalker, and then it really surprised me at how Hayden Christensen playing the role, not in a bad way, but it kind of made me go, wait, what? Hang on, whoa. He's grown up. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe Hayden Christensen at the time of filming was quite young. He was quite young. But I just thought there would have been a little bit of more of a teenage character of Anakin Skywalker and maybe Hayden Christensen was a teenager. But I was just genuinely surprised coming into this movie, and they're like, oh, that's Anakin Skywalker. Whoa, really? Really? okay, yeah, wow, okay, he's grown up a lot. And obviously, Padme says that. She literally says, wow, you look at you, Annie, you've grown up a lot. And he did. But not in a negative way, I was just really surprised at how fast they grew him up. It was kind of a shock. So, this kind of does my head in, guys. I just couldn't get my head around the realistic CGI background of all the scenes. I genuinely, just looking at them, I just kept thinking to myself after seeing it, how, like, it just was so seamless. It was so incredibly seamless. Obviously, most of the film was CG, clearly. But specifically what you could see behind the scenes, as in like behind the actual actors, what was going on back there, it was just so on point. It was so incredibly on point. I genuinely, 100%, I honestly thought it was so flawless. I was so ridiculously impressed with the guys. I just kept thinking to myself, how are they, like they really landed it. You know what I mean? It was just so absolutely incredible. Okay, so this is one of those things that I know it's nitpicking. I know it is. But it made me go, wow, really? And it's Obi-Wan Kenobi's beard. Like, I don't know. Just rewatching it, I just genuinely thought to myself, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not even, and I'm not even going to go there with Justice League, Henry Cavill's mustache. Like, but we're talking about Star Wars. It's Star Wars. Like, I don't know. It was so obvious that it was fake, and it was just, it didn't take me out of the movie in any way, shape or form. And I guess because of Ian McDiarmid's, portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi, it was so convincing that I guess you just didn't even think about the fact that he had a fake beard on. But anyway, I know that's nitpicking. Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, guys, I absolutely ate up, in every sense of the word, the chemistry between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. I ate it up. I thought it was so incredibly brilliantly convincing that he wanted to honor and please his master, and it was really, it was just that back and forth chemistry. I genuinely 100%, to me it worked. To me it really worked, guys. It was something that I was just like, yeah, I'm feeling it. I really was. I was feeling it. I genuinely was taken in, and I was like, yep. You sold me. You've sold me on your character chemistry, because that's what Obi-Wan Kenobi was with Anakin as a kid. They were playful. They were having fun. They were just when they meet, they were like, oh, are you a Jedi? Wow, pleasure to meet you. And he's like, smiling about it. It was cool, and that chemistry really played, in my opinion, it really played off in this movie. I honestly was thoroughly impressed. Something that I have to bring up, and this isn't a spoiler, it's not a spoiler, but it blew my mind, is the shapeshifter. Oh my goodness, you guys. That shapeshifter was absolutely incredible. It was so subtle. It was so incredibly subtle. Yet the way it was done, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it was just so well crafted. I was just blown away, and I remember the first time I ever saw that, I remember thinking to myself, wait, did I actually see what I just saw then? Or am I seeing something else? And then I realized, wow, no, I am seeing what I saw. Oh, man. And then rewatching it, seeing it, I'm like, it was almost far away enough to miss it, but close enough to capture it. And it was like, yeah, nah. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. And it really just, because it's so quick, but it's so good. And I tell you now, guys, if those of you who haven't seen Star Wars, one, why haven't you? Really? Those of you who have seen Attack of the Clones, Episode 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. Man, loved that. I just love that element of it. It was brilliant. Before I go on, guys, I'm going to say one thing. This movie was so good, legitimately, I wanted to take notes on this movie, okay? I wanted to take notes to, just to give you everything that I could about this movie, my thoughts and my opinions. I had to watch it twice, in a good way. This movie has, and anyone who's been following me for any period of time, you know what I'm about to say. You know exactly what I'm about to say. Ready for it? Rewatchability. Rewatchability. It is the core essential thing that Hollywood, any movie, well not even Hollywood, any movie ever made in the history of cinema needs is rewatchability. Rewatchability. And seriously, guys, I literally watched this movie twice over a span of I think 2 or 3 days, because I really wanted to soak it in. I wanted to take notes, literally, of what I wanted to express to you guys, of how much I just wanted to talk about this movie. Some of the scenes in this movie, I would honestly say, were so incredibly amplified, and I mean so incredibly amplified, purely, guys, purely for the fact of one man. Are you ready for it? One man. For real, and I genuinely mean this. The composer of Star Wars himself, Mr. John Williams. There are scenes in this movie that you're watching, and I honestly could say if you're watching these scenes on mute, it'd be like, what am I watching? But purely because of John Williams' score, those scenes are so highly elevated. You are just like, what am I watching right now? This is like, it is just incredible. It's literally, the thing that I love about Star Wars the most, one of the most powerful things, is John Williams has actually done every single Star Wars movie except Solo and Rogue One. Other than that, he has had, I don't believe that he did those two. I don't believe so. I could be wrong about that. But all the main Star Wars movies, as in the episodes, John Williams has done every single one. And I mean, wow. Just the elevation of scenes. He just grabs you and takes you into scenes that you wouldn't be gripped into if it wasn't for the brilliantly, epically mastered score. So I'm going to tell you about 2 little tiny cameos right now from Rose Byrne and Matt Doran. Now, if those 2 names ring a bell, that's because Rose Byrne now is actually in a lot of comedies with Seth Rogen and people like that. And Matt Doran is actually one of the main focal characters out of the Matrix movies. Tiniest cameo, but as soon as they were on, I was like, oh, that's Rose, oh, that's Matt Doran. I just loved it. And guys, as you can see right now, my GIFs, whatever you call them, those right there are the 2, I just loved them. I seriously ate it up. I loved it so much. I was so impressed. Yeah, to see those 2 little tiny, I mean, back then they were really young people, but I mean, to see them in a Star Wars movie, I was like, now that's cool. Wow. Okay. This is something that I really valued so much about Anakin Skywalker's character and leading up to what he becomes. No spoilers. The foreshadowing of who he becomes. I really love the foreshadowing of who he becomes in this movie. It was so simple, So subtle, yet through the entire movie, his dialogue was getting just really, really rich. His dialogue was really changing into this person that he ultimately becomes. And I tell you what, guys, in every way, shape, or form, I was I was just completely compelled. I was hook, line, and sinker. Yep, no, totally. I believe what he's becoming. And it was, honestly, Hayden Christensen nailed it. In my personal opinion, he really, really nailed it. And honestly, guys, I wasn't even going to do a movie review on the prequels, but rewatching them, man, I am so glad I did. Speaking of Hayden Christensen, his relationship in this movie with Padme, Anakin Skywalker and Padme, their relationship in this movie, man, I mean, no spoilers, guys, but the end scene was just like sort of the nail, and yeah, it was just okay, this is a done deal. And I really valued how subtle they made it throughout the movie, and then by the end of it, it was just so it was just so scripted, so perfectly, so convincingly throughout the entire film, that it was just like, yeah, okay, no, yep, completely. I know what's going on here. I get it. And I really, I genuinely, I felt for them. I really felt for them. They convinced me that it was a genuine love romance. It was so beautiful. I'm going to talk to you guys now about something that blew my mind, and rewatching it, I still to this day look back and just rewatching the movie again, I just thought to myself, how did they make that look so real? And I'm talking about the alien planet that Obi-Wan Kenobi goes to, the hidden planet, the planet that's taken off the map that he discovers. Oh man, the way they moved, even what they look like, it was such a simple sequence, but man alive, I ate it up. I was convinced every single step of the way that what I was seeing was real, was there, and I guarantee you it was just Obi-Wan Kenobi sitting there in front of a green screen. And, I tell you now, guys, I loved it. I genuinely loved it. The visuals in this movie, specifically talking about the alien planet, the visuals were groundbreaking, absolutely groundbreaking. It's just one of those movies that, re-watching it, you think to yourself, I could tell that whatever they did on the budget for the first one, I could tell it was doubled for this movie. And if it wasn't, it looked like it was. Like, seriously. Because it was just so authentic. It just really sold me. There was not one moment in it that I was looking at it going, that's not even convincing. Because it really, they smashed it out of the water, guys. There's one character in this movie who I was genuinely surprised about, and now I know that he's in Attack of the Clones. Now I understand why he's in the rest of the films, and that's C-3PO. I was just, the way he came into this movie, I was like, oh, wow, that's C-3PO. He was really just there. I mean, he was really just there, I was so incredibly like, oh, wow, it's C-3PO. And then from that point on, he was in the movie so much more than anything else. And I lapped it up, guys. I really valued that element of him in it. It elevated the movie even more. So if you guys haven't seen the movie, I got to tell you about a sequence. And I'm talking about a foreshadowing element that Hayden Christensen, as Anakin Skywalker, he's saying goodbye to people. He's saying goodbye to people from where he is, and he's about to go and do something, and go away and do something. I loved the foreshadowing of that sequence. I loved the elements that they brought to the table that made it look like what was about to happen next was going down. And no, you weren't prepared for what was about to happen, but man alive, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, his slow development into what he becomes was so on point. It was so executed in a character in that development. So one of the scenes that was completely not deliberate at all, and it's in the trivia of the movie, which I'll talk about later, was the foreshadowing from Anakin Skywalker to the shadow of Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker is having a conversation with someone, and the camera pans across, and the camera is sitting literally on the rock of a wall, and you see an outline of a person and another person, and the other person's outline looks like Darth Vader. And oh my gosh, OMG to the MAX. Wow. It is so brilliantly not deliberate, and yet it is so well executed, and it looks so perfect. At the 1 hour and 39 minute mark of this movie, one of the things that blew my mind, completely blew my mind, was I just realized at that point the scale and scope of the mass of how big this movie was. Really. Rewatching it and seeing just how small they made the people look in around the machines, and I know it was all CG, but it really gave me that understanding of this movie is massive. The world, the universe that these guys are playing with is huge, and I was really at that point of the movie completely convinced. So just in case you didn't know, I'm going to tell you now. Are you ready for it? Yeah, okay, just checking. When you watch the movies next, listen out for this line. I've got a bad feeling about this. That line is literally spoken in every single Star Wars movie that has ever been made. Seriously. That one line, I've got a bad feeling about this. Now, the only movie, in my personal opinion, and when I get to that review, I'll talk about why I don't like it. The only movie that I personally didn't feel that it was actually in the movie at all, and is The Last Jedi. And I'll talk about that when I get to that review, guys. But you'll have to watch that. You'll have to wait until my review pops up for that one. But in my personal opinion, that movie specifically didn't have that line. So that's just my opinion. So I've got to talk to you about a lightsaber sequence in this movie right at the end. It just came with so much high energy, so much elevated fun and excitement, and it was just so brilliantly, perfectly executed. It's right at the end of the film, but it is the most just energetic sequence that you could just... When you're in it, you're in it, and it's just like, man, you just don't want it to stop. It had so much energy behind this sequence. It was like you felt like a kid in a candy store just watching it. It was so powerful. Probably the only bad thing about that lightsaber sequence at the end was when it was finished. I felt like after that sequence was finished, I felt like there was a lull in the movie, and then I saw the time, and it had over 20 minutes of the film left, and I'm like, whoa, what are they going to do from here on? And then it just gets even bigger. Like, for real, guys, it would have taken so much to do the battles in this movie, and man alive, I cannot tell you how incredibly impressed I was just by seeing how the mass and scale of how incredible, brilliantly this movie turned out, especially those last 20 minutes. Wow. In the end of the movie, in an element way, sort of, it felt like it landed on a cliffhanger. I mean, obviously not as much as The Force Awakens, but in a weird way, it's almost like what they ended on, you knew that there was going to be more in a really good way, and clearly there was. But I really valued the fact of how they ended the movie, and it was like, oh, okay, so, we're here now. Okay, this is it. Wow. And it really left you wanting more, even though you'd been sitting there for as long as you were, 222 minutes. It was that effective, and it was brilliant. Anyone who's been following me for any period of time at all, you know what time it is. Some people's favorite time of my movie reviews. Guess what, guys? Trivia time. Hayden Christensen actually said he enjoyed filming the bar sequence because it was actually real and not green screen. He actually has stated in interviews that was his absolute favorite sequences / scene to film out of the whole movie, because he got to really, it was all there, it was all people, it was all aliens and creatures and stuff. How cool is that? So, as I said to you earlier, guys, Anakin Skywalker is having a conversation. Okay, he's having a conversation, and in the DVD commentary, it actually says that shot of them, the panning to the wall shot to see who he's having a conversation with, that was not deliberate at all. That was completely. It just happened to be, and he looked in his shadow like Darth Vader. Now that is one hot piece of trivia. Next piece of trivia, guys. The Senate votes to give the Supreme Chancellor's sweeping emergency powers to go to wars against the separate forces. This is the same ploy that Adolf Hitler did to do in the mid-90s in mid-Germany. That sucks. Anyway, that's a bit of crappy trivia, but it's the same thing that happened back then. One more piece of trivia, guys, and I'll leave you to that. During rehearsals and filming of Count Dooku's lightsaber scenes, a small model of Yoda was used as a reference point for Sir Christopher Lee. The model, however, was slightly altered to have vampire fangs, to which Lee's amused response was, "I will not comment on that. I didn't think you'd do this to me, George." The fangs were likely a joke to his performance as Count Dracula in 1958 and some of the other horror films. So there you go, guys. You are so welcome. Guys, if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your subscription. Have you had a chance yourselves to see Star Wars Attack of the Clones Episode 2? If you have, do you love it as much as everyone else does, or have you not seen it? Where do you lie? Where are you guys? You know what I mean? What do you think of the movie? Or if you haven't, are you going to see it now that you've seen my review? You're so welcome. Guys, I really appreciated you sticking around. I really value you being here. You guys are incredibly amazing. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this movie review. I really value that so much. If you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications. That way, whenever I drop anything, it'll be yours straight away. Boom, you're welcome. And don't forget to leave a comment on this movie review. Let me know what you think about it. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? What are your thoughts on the movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you think of the prequels so far? I value it so much, guys. And until my next movie review, don't forget who's bringing this movie review to you guys. This is Superman Steve, guys. Flying out!